Participles, the adjective form of the verb, are very important in Latin. Very important. Whereas in English we love our subordinate clauses, Latin loves its participles. So this makes learning about participles rough for an English speaker. It's a bit of complex grammar and not something that's easily relatable. I'm going to talk about what participles are and how Latin forms its participles from verbs. So I said that participles are verbal adjectives. What does that mean? Well, most importantly, it means that participles are adjectives. And so, because of this, participles always describe nouns. A participle will have the same case, number, and gender as the noun that it describes. So in this line from Virgil's Aeneid, moritur, going to die, describes the noun dido. So it shares its same case, number, and gender. Here, nominative, feminine, singular, hence the a ending. We would translate this as, nor does Dido, who is going to die with a cruel death, keep you. Don't worry about the form of moritura just yet. My point here is that the participle is really an adjective that describes further a noun. So we could say that Dido is pokerrima, very beautiful, or moritura, going to die. Both are adjectives because both describe the noun Dido, but only moritura is a participle. Latin really only has 4 different participles, but we can put them into a well-structured chart that has time periods on the left. These are our typical times of present, past, which I'll call perfect, and future. And then we will put voice, active and passive, along the top. This is the same structure we use for infinitives, and the 3 time periods on the left are really fundamental in Latin grammar. So officially, we have 6 different possibilities for the participle, formed by the combination of tense and voice. Let's start with the first conjugation and use the handy verb laudo, laudare, laudavi, laudatus to praise. All first conjugation participles are formed in this way. So first we'll start with the present active. We always take the present stem, which is the second principal part, drop off the re ending, and to this we add ns, for the nominative singular, laudans. The genitive singular is laudantis, where the s changes to a t before the third declension ending. Yes, that's right. Present participles are third declension adjectives. And so you'll see these with the blank is, ema, ace, ibus, acibus endings. We translate present participles with the ing suffix in English. So laudans, laudantis means praising. Present participles are easy to identify, though, because of the ns, or even more so because of the nt in the oblique cases. And this nt is the same nt that you'll find in the word present. That's right, the word present itself is a present participle. Praesens, praesentis is from praese, meaning being present. There is no present passive participle. That's right, the Romans didn't have a way of saying being praised. There's also no perfect active participle for laudo, but I'll get back to this in a second. The perfect passive participle is the 4th principal part, laudatus, and we'll add an aum to it to show that it's an adjective with first and second declension endings. Laudatus is the masculine form, laudata, the feminine, and laudatum, the neuter. Since this is perfect passive, that means that praising is in the past and happened to the noun. And so we'll translate it as either having been praised or, really just simply praised. So you could have a sentence like, miles ab imperatore laudatus gaudebat. The soldier, praised by his general, was rejoicing. The praising happened before the rejoicing, and it happened to the soldier. Future active participles look similar to perfect passives. We'll take the 4th principal part, laudatus, and insert an ur, before the ending, laudaturus. Again, the us shows that it has first and second declension endings. And you can translate this participle as going to praise or about to praise. Since it's future active, it describes an action that will happen at some point after the action in the sentence. So, miles imperatorem laudaturus gaudebat. The soldier who was going to praise the general was rejoicing. Notice that the praising hasn't happened yet, but since laudaturus is an active participle, the soldier is doing the action. You can remember that this is a future active participle because both this and the word future have a in them. And that's right, the word future itself is a future participle. Futurus, is from esse, meaning going to be. You will also see the future active participle used with the form of to be, as in miles imperatorem laudaturus est. The soldier is going to praise the general. And this shows a future without using the future tense of the verb, so it's technically called an active periphrastic for you grammar geeks. The neat thing with the active periphrastic is that we can swap out different tenses of to be to achieve the future of the past. The soldier was going to praise the general, and the future of the future. The soldier will be going to praise the general. Last, we have the future passive participle, which is often referred to as the gerundive. This form comes from the present stem, the second principal part, without the re ending, but we can also look at the present participle for the stem, lauda. To this we add undus aum, and we have laudandus aum. English translates laudandus as to be praised, but the gerundive is often used in two very specific ways that are somewhat idiomatic, so they're not so easy to translate literally. You can identify the future passive participle because both this and its term gerundive have an nd, in them. And that's right, the word gerundive itself is a gerundive, gerendus, from gero, meaning to be carried. One of these idiomatic uses of the gerundive is with the form of to be to denote obligation or necessity, as in miles laudandus est, the soldier is to be praised. Or even much better, the soldier must be praised. We can add in a dative of agent, too. Miles imperatori laudandus est. The soldier must be praised by the general, or maybe even better, the general must praise the soldier. This, grammar geeks, is also called the passive periphrastic, and like the active periphrastic, we swap out tenses of to be to achieve a necessity in the past. The general had to praise the soldier. That's it. This is basically how all participles are formed. The different conjugations of verbs will have their slight differences. So here's the second conjugation verb, moneo, and you can pause the video and be sure to write these down, where the present active and future passive have an e instead of an a. The third conjugation verb, dico, which again has an e in the present active and future passive. The third io verb, facio, which now has an ie in the present active and future passive. And the fourth conjugation verb, audio, which also has the ie. But wait, there's one more thing. How do deponent verbs form their participles? Remember that a deponent verb looks passive, but is actually active in meaning. It's technically set aside its passive meanings, but not their passive endings. For a first conjugation deponent verb like conor, conari, conata sum, their participles can sometimes break this rule. Conor has a present active participle, conans, that looks active and is translated actively, trying. The perfect participle is likewise translated actively and is conatus, having tried. The future active participle is conaturus, going to try. It looks active and is translated actively. Then there's the future passive, the gerundive, conandus, which looks like every other future passive participle and is translated passively, to be tried. The key thing to keep in mind about participles of deponent verbs is that other than the perfect participle, they look like and are translated exactly the same as every other participle. So don't worry too much about these deponents. Otherwise, participles are pretty simple. The present active has an ns or an nt. The perfect passive is the fourth principal part. The future active is the fourth principal part, but with a ur. And the future passive, the gerundive, has an nd.